What if a lawyer suddenly couldn't lie? Liar Liar takes that ridiculous premise and runs with it, all thanks to Jim Carrey's wild physical comedy and rubbery facial expressions. Fletcher Reed is a fast-talking attorney who's built his career on bending the truth, but when his son makes a birthday wish for his dad to stop lying, Fletcher suddenly finds himself unable to tell even the smallest white lie for 24 hours. Cue courtroom hilarity. Fletcher's got a divorce case to handle, and the fact that he has to tell the absolute truth leads to some of the funniest legal proceedings ever put to film. Watching Carrey flail around the courtroom, trying to work his way out of legal traps without being able to lie, is pure comedic genius. It's slapstick, it's ridiculous, and yet, at its heart, Liar Liar has a surprisingly sweet message about honesty and family. Jim Carrey's performance is an endless energy spectacle, and the courtroom scenes are a hilarious showcase of his talent. You'll laugh so hard you'll forget this is technically a legal movie, and yet it still manages to sneak in a few genuine courtroom moments amidst all the chaos. Plus, watching a lawyer suffer the consequences of telling the truth in court is a kind of poetic justice, don't you think? Kramer vs. Kramer will hit you right in the feels because it's not just a courtroom movie, it's a raw, emotional portrayal of divorce and parenting. Dustin Hoffman and Meryl Streep play Ted and Joanna Kramer, a couple whose marriage falls apart, leading to an intense custody battle over their young son. It's as much about the emotional turmoil of the characters as it is about the legalities of the case. The courtroom scenes are less about fiery arguments and more about the painful realities of splitting up a family. Ted, who has had to learn how to be a single dad after Joanna leaves, fights to keep custody of their son, while Joanna, who returns to claim custody, believes she's the better parent. You'll find yourself rooting for both of them, which is part of the film's emotional power. Hoffman and Streep's performances are nothing short of phenomenal. Their characters are flawed, vulnerable, and incredibly human. By the time they go head-to-head in court, you're not just invested in who wins the case, you're invested in their whole lives. The film is a reflection of how complicated parenthood, love, and responsibility can be. There's no clear villain, no obvious right answer, just a gut-wrenching battle for a child's future. Bring tissues. In The Lincoln Lawyer, Matthew McConaughey plays Mickey Holler, a defense attorney who operates out of his Lincoln Town car, because when you're that smooth, you don't need an office. You'd think, oh great, another McConaughey character who's too cool for his own good, but Mickey's smooth-talking, morally ambiguous approach to law makes for a compelling character. At first, Holler's all about the money, representing clients who are usually as sleazy as they come. But when he takes on a case defending a wealthy young man accused of assault, things get darker and more complicated than they first appear. The film expertly balances legal intrigue with moral dilemmas, as Holler digs deeper into the case and realizes his client might not be as innocent as he claims. What makes The Lincoln Lawyer stand out is McConaughey's charisma. He glides through every scene with his classic laid-back charm, but there's also a weight to his performance as Holler starts to question his role in a corrupt system. The courtroom battles are sharp, the twists keep you on your toes, and the film delivers a strong message about justice, privilege, and the consequences of turning a blind eye. It's like watching a legal cat-and-mouse game, but instead of cheese, the stakes are prison sentences and shattered lives. Bring tissues. No, seriously, if you're not teary-eyed by the end of Philadelphia, check your pulse. This movie tackles some serious social issues, but it does so with such grace and emotional weight that you'll be floored. Tom Hanks plays Andrew Beckett, a lawyer fired from his high-powered firm because he has AIDS. What follows is a courtroom showdown as Beckett sues his former employers for discrimination. Denzel Washington, playing a personal injury lawyer with initially homophobic attitudes, agrees to represent him. The evolution of their relationship is one of the film's highlights, and their courtroom scenes have the intensity of a heavyweight title fight. But this isn't just a legal drama, it's a deeply emotional story about prejudice, fear, and acceptance. Tom Hanks won his first Oscar for this role, and it's not hard to see why. His portrayal of Beckett's dignity, even in the face of his deteriorating health, is both heartbreaking and inspiring. And Denzel, well, he's captivating in every scene, balancing between his character's internal struggles and his duty to fight for Beckett's justice. If the legal stuff doesn't get you, the human drama will. You might as well just watch this with a blanket and a gallon of ice cream because you're going to need comfort. Anatomy of a Murder may be from the 1950s, but its subject matter is surprisingly bold and provocative for its time. The film revolves around a murder trial where the defense argues that the accused, Lieutenant Manion, killed a man in a fit of rage after his wife was raped. What sets this film apart is its willingness to tackle themes of sexual assault and consent. In 1959, discussing such things in a film was unheard of, but Anatomy of a Murder dives headfirst into the murky waters of morality and legality. Jimmy Stewart stars as defense attorney Paul Beegler, and his calm, methodical style makes for some truly gripping courtroom scenes. He's going up against George C. Scott's fiery prosecutor, and their back and forth is like watching two grandmasters play chess with the law. The movie brilliantly explores the gray areas of justice. You're never quite sure who's telling the truth, and by the end, you might be questioning the very nature of guilt and innocence. The film's jazzy score, composed by Duke Ellington, adds an extra layer of cool sophistication to the proceedings, making this one of the most unique courtroom dramas out there. It's the kind of movie that makes you feel like you should be sipping a martini while contemplating the complexities of the human condition. Watching Paul Newman in The Verdict is like watching a masterclass in how to rebuild your life after hitting rock bottom. Newman plays Frank Galvin, an ambulance-chasing, alcoholic lawyer who's one bad decision away from completely destroying his career. When a medical malpractice case falls into his lap, he sees it as a chance for redemption. But nothing about the case is straightforward, and Galvin has to fight tooth and nail to expose the truth. This isn't your typical legal drama with fast-paced arguments and flashy verdicts. Instead, it's a slow-burn character study that focuses on one man's struggle to reclaim his dignity. Newman's performance is subtle but powerful. He doesn't need big courtroom theatrics to captivate the audience. When he finally delivers his closing argument, you're rooting for him not just because you want him to win the case, but because you want him to win back his self-respect. Newman's eyes alone should have been nominated for an Oscar. They carry the weight of a man who's seen too much and done too little with his life. The film's pacing allows you to really dig into the emotional weight of Galvin's journey, and by the end, you're as invested in his personal redemption as you are in the outcome of the trial. Atticus Finch isn't just a lawyer. He's a symbol of moral integrity. Gregory Peck's portrayal of the soft-spoken, principled attorney has turned Atticus into the gold standard for all fictional lawyers to come. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus takes on the seemingly impossible task of defending Tom Robinson, a black man wrongly accused of raping a white woman in the Deep South during the 1930s. The courtroom drama unfolds alongside a larger narrative about racial injustice, moral courage, and the innocence of childhood. Through the eyes of Atticus' daughter, Scout, we see both the ugliness and beauty of the world around them. The courtroom scenes are some of the most emotionally charged moments ever put on film. Atticus delivers his closing argument with such quiet conviction, you can practically feel the weight of every word he says. The way Peck delivers lines like, "In the name of God, believe him," makes you want to believe in humanity again. But, of course, justice doesn't always prevail, and the trial's outcome reflects the harsh realities of the era's deep-seated racism. Every time you watch this film, you walk away feeling both inspired by Atticus and gutted by the world's unfairness. Courtroom comedies are tricky to pull off, but My Cousin Vinny nails it. This isn't your typical legal film with a high-stakes murder trial. It's a fish-out-of-water story that just happens to take place in court. And Joe Pesci's character, Vinny Gambini, might be the least qualified lawyer to ever step foot in a courtroom. He's a loud-mouthed, fast-talking New Yorker with a complete lack of legal experience, and he's got to defend his cousin and a friend against murder charges in the Deep South. The humor comes from watching Vinny clash with everyone in the small town, including a no-nonsense judge who's about 2 seconds away from throwing him in contempt of court. And then there's Marissa Tomei as Vinny's girlfriend, Mona Lisa Vito, who's got more mechanical knowledge than any expert witness the prosecution could dream of. The courtroom scenes are pure comedy gold. From Vinny grilling a witness about how long it takes to cook grits to Tomei's scene-stealing testimony on car mechanics, every moment is packed with laughs. Pesci and Tomei have such electric chemistry, you'll forget this is a movie about a murder trial. And let's not forget, Tomei won an Oscar for this role. Yes, an Oscar for playing a mechanic-savvy girlfriend who delivers one of the best legal takedowns in cinematic history. If you've ever tried shouting, "You can't handle the truth," at someone during a heated debate, you have a few good men to thank for that. This movie is like the Super Bowl of courtroom dramas, And the final face-off between Tom Cruise's hotshot Navy lawyer and Jack Nicholson's grizzled Marine colonel is one of the most quoted moments in film history. Cruise plays Lieutenant Daniel Coffey, a lawyer who's so cocky, he could probably convince you the sky is green. He's tasked with defending two Marines accused of murder after they followed orders to perform a code-red disciplinary action that went tragically wrong. The whole movie builds up to the final courtroom battle where Coffey goes head-to-head with Colonel Jessup. What makes it brilliant isn't just the shouting match at the end, though, let's be real, that's the cherry on top. It's the way the film tackles morality, duty, and authority. Can a soldier be held responsible for following orders? What's more important, upholding the chain of command or doing what's right? These are the kinds of questions that could keep you up all night. Plus, who knew that watching Tom Cruise furiously bang out legal jargon could be so entertaining? His intensity in this film is like watching someone chug 5 energy drinks and then try to win an argument on Twitter. And then there's Jack Nicholson, who delivers that famous line with such unhinged bravado, you almost forget he's the bad guy. He makes you feel like, maybe you can't handle the truth. When it comes to 12 Angry Men, calling it just a courtroom drama feels like calling the ocean a puddle. This is the granddaddy of all legal films, and what makes it legendary is how it pulls you into a debate about life and death without ever showing the trial itself. The whole film is one massive jury deliberation in a hot, stuffy room where the stakes are higher than the temperature. Henry Fonda's character is the only one holding out on convicting a young defendant of murder, and he spends the movie trying to convince the other 11 jurors to reconsider their guilty votes. It's more intense than any action movie out there, with personalities clashing, tempers flaring, and the whole concept of reasonable doubt taking center stage. Each juror represents a different perspective on justice, society, and human nature, like the sweaty, angry embodiment of every argument you've ever had on the internet. Fun fact, the film doesn't even show the courtroom. And yet, it's one of the most riveting legal films ever made. You'll feel like you're right there, sweating it out with them, questioning whether you'd have the guts to stand up like Fonda's character does. The film isn't just about justice, it's about what it means to be human.